So ever since my last video upload, it seems as if Mark Golding has broke the internet. Now, the crazy thing is, even though I don't believe in coincidence, the day after I uploaded my video, my last video, and I'll link to it at the end of this video. So when you see the sort of, ending credits or whatever going up, you'll see the thumbnail of the video that I've linked, and you can click on it and watch it. Now, in that video, a lot of the stuff that Mark Golding mentioned sort of yesterday, if you like, I've covered in my video previously the day before. I'm not saying that he or anybody of his team watched my video, saw the points that I've outlined, and then went ahead and made his challenge in the debates. When he was in Parliament before Andrew Holness did the unprofessional thing, the emotional thing, the knee-jerk reaction, and actually walked out. And I've spoke about the dog whistle, where sometimes somebody doesn't have to give specific instructions, or it's a situation where once somebody says do something or act a certain way or give certain expressions, the dog whistle is everybody else that's affiliated with that person or thing understand the assignment and they know what to do. So when he walked out, if you notice, all the parliamentaries on the JLP side walked out with him. He walked out first and then they followed suit. Now, he didn't tell them to walk out. He didn't encourage them to walk out. He didn't give them any instruction to walk out, but they followed him. That's the dog whistle. I'll talk about that in my other video. And then the very next day, 24 hours later, we saw a demonstration of the dog whistle I spoke about. Okay, but this can go across the board to do with anything else. That dog whistle, it does exist. As I said before, the dog whistle where only dogs can hear it, but humans can't hear it. It's that kind of stuff. So anyway, so Mark Golding had to sort of go on the sidewalk outside. I believe it's Duke Street. Correct me if I'm wrong. So on Duke Street, he's out there, completing his speech, where he was going in on Juliet Holness for being the Speaker of the House. And as I said to you in the video before, I actually went into that in great detail, emphasizing that that's a conflict of interest. Now, it doesn't mean that Mark Golding heard my stuff, as I said, and followed it. It just means, from what I understand, he's been going on about this ever since last year of 2023. Now, so was I. But for the most part, I've been saying this ever since Juliet Holness was appointed to the Parliament or the House as Speaker of the House. I've voiced my sort of concerns back then, but not online. I just had these discussions with friends and families where I said basically, it's not the best way to conduct an administration in Parliament, where you have both sides debating issues, importing issues, bringing important subject matter to the table, and you have a Speaker of the House who has control over what's discussed and what isn't discussed, and what they decide is in their interest rather than what's in the public's interest. And in this case, from what I understand, Juliet Holness is blocking the tabling of such discussions and debate, which means the illicit six, which is just what this was all about. It means that their situation is not brought to light, and then that casts a shadow over the whole situation, and people are sitting back and like, well, that's not right. That's kind of conflict of interest right there, because from what I understand, as I said in my other video, I don't want to repeat anything I said in my last video, before all this broke loose, was that it's a situation where she's going to protect her husband. Of course she's going to protect her husband. Now, there's rumors flying around that the marriage is a sham, or the marriage has deteriorated to the point where they're not even sleeping in the same bedroom, much less the same bed. This happened to me. That's neither here nor there. There's lots of married couple that's married over the years, and their marriage have deteriorated to the point where they feel like they're just living in a house like roommates. I don't know, whatever the case is. But yes, if you're the Speaker of the House, there is definitely conflict of interest there, regardless of whether their marriage is intact or not, whether they're just keeping up a front. Because as we know, it's all public image. If you have a prime minister of a sitting prime minister of a country, and he's divorced or separated from his wife, and that goes out public, that's not a very good optic. That's not a very good standing. If you look around the world at leaders of countries, they always sort of have their wives on their arms, you know, their children around them. It's just a very wholesome sort of family image of saying they're a very upstanding family man with family values, and you know, they're fit to lead the country because look at this wholesome family sort of thing. So we understand the optics and the image and the media image they're trying to project, whether in reality that's true or not. So yeah, you know, just to get back, that is a conflict of interest. I've gone into great detail about that already. But what I want to touch on really here is that a lot of people are saying that, you know, the fact that Mark Golding is sort of, you know, criticizing and exposing the situation and speaking on it, that he's been misogynist. You know, that's not misogynistic at all. Far from it. It doesn't matter who the Speaker of the House is. If there is a conflict of interest, then, you know, their position is no more, you know, it becomes untenable. They can't remain in that position for obvious reasons. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Now, having said that, here's the next thing. Mark Golding, who is sort of, you know, hammering this information home, I have a suggestion for him. He doesn't have to take it. I'm not a supporter of Mark Golding or Andrew Holness or the JLP or the PNP. But I'm for anything that's going to dismantle any sort of conflict of interest, any form of corruption, any form of nepotism, and all that type of stuff. And in case people hasn't figured it out yet, nepotism is a form of corruption, especially when you hold public office. Now, nepotism can exist in the private sector. Now, if I you know, set up my own business, it's obvious that I would want my children, my son, my daughters, depending on the business, to run my business or to take over my business and to run it. But of course, if they're not in a position to run it properly and they're going to run it into the ground, I'm going to employ and appoint people who's got the experience and the qualifications to run the business successfully. So nepotism there has a place when you see a private situation. You look at all these Chinese restaurants and Asian restaurants that's in Jamaica now. They employ black people in some of them, but for the most part, they don't hold senior positions within those companies, and they're not going to take over that business and run it once the Chinese elder, whosoever the person who started the business, who's founded the business, they're not going to give it to some outsider. So in a private setting, I can understand nepotism, but in a public setting, nepotism is corruption, because what you're doing is you're giving positions to friends and families to run public office and do public administration when they're not best sometimes suited to the role. It's basically based on, oh, you know, that's my wife, that's my husband, that's my cousin, my sister, my brother, that's my brethren, that's my friend, that's my girlfriend, that's my matey, that's my side chick. You know what I mean? And so a man who know a man who know a man, get them on a position. That's nepotism and that's corruption. That is dangerous in a public setting, because now what you have is people running administration in public office that's affecting people's lives, millions of people's lives. And if the wrong decision is made and they're not efficient at their job, they're not productive in their jobs, then it means that they're going to create more harm and damage than anything else. And that's obvious. That's not, again, rocket science to figure that out. Now, having said all of that, what I want to say to Mark Golding is, if I was you, mate, I would actually go to the debates. I wouldn't not go. I would go to debates, and I'll tell you why. Now, a lot of people have heard him saying, oh, you shouldn't go to the debates, it's tit for tat. You know, he walked, you know, the Prime Minister walked out on you and disrespected the citizens of Jamaica, and also disrespected the opposition and the opposition leader. So therefore, you should tit for tat, you know, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and do the same. Now, we all know that Jamaicans, for the most part, are very vindictive people. They're very revengeful. You do something wrong to a Jamaican, he's not going to forget. He's going to be thinking about his revenge, he or she. I think that's one thing we need to get rid of in the culture, the vindictiveness of always have to get your own back. I mean, there's some circumstances where that is warranted, but in most cases, it's not necessary. It's not that deep. You know, you gotta have a thick skin. But in a professional setting, like Parliament, where you have a Prime Minister who have done a knee-jerk, emotional, unprofessional reaction, and he walked out, and you could see the anger on his face. You can see the demon rising up out of this person. I've done videos telling you that a lot of this time you see Andrew Holness on, did I say Mark Golding being angry? It was Andrew Holness I meant, being angry, being unprofessional, and also sort of, walking out with all that emotion, knee-jerk reaction. Now, I've said before that a lot of these politicians have what you call media training. So in the media, when the lights are shining on them, the camera lights, they act a certain way, but they're not showing you their real selves. But when the cameras are switched off, they're somebody else. And that's what you have to sort of consider. I think Mark Golding should turn up to the debates. And I tell you why he should turn up, because you already have the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, in check. And if you play chess, the next move after check is checkmate. But you have to be very careful of your next move. Now, a lot of people are saying tit for tat, he shouldn't go, he should stay, he should do to the Prime Minister what he does to them. And I understand that, but in a professional setting, what Mark Golding, in my opinion, should do is turn up to the meeting with his full members of his party and take part in the debates. Do not disrupt him, do not interfere, do not interrupt or anything. Let them do what they do. And, when the opportunity presents itself, you bring up the Speaker of the House situation again. Because two things has happened. One, if you do to Andrew Holness, what Andrew Holness has done to you by walking out, you're no better than him. That's number one. And a lot of people say, well, we don't want to take the high ground, we've been doing that. Well, here's the reason why. You see, you guys are not chess players, so that's why you think very shallow. Now, here's the thing. If Mark Golding was to do the same thing what Andrew Holness does, then it will be very easy for the ruling party to say, well, you see, you're complaining about something that we did, but you turn on and you did the very same thing. So you're no better than us. How dare you criticize us? You're a hypocrite. You criticize us and you did the same thing. See, when the opportunity presented itself, you did exactly the same thing. And I guarantee you that is what the PNP party is waiting for the JLP members to do, to not turn up so they can say, you see, we've walked out the house, they've criticized us and say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then when they got the opportunity, what did? They do exactly the same thing. So they know better. They're such hypocrites. And that's what's going to happen. They're just going to turn it into a pantomime. They're going to flip the script. So that's number one. Number two, Mark Golding now knows what the kryptonite is for Andrew Holness. The kryptonite is Juliet Holness and the fact that she holds the Speaker of the House. Because if he brought up something that's within the public interest, what's actually true, it is a conflict of interest. There's no doubt there. So if he knows that, he's now, Andrew Holness has now let his emotions get the better of him. So right now, Andrew Holness is under a lot of pressure. He's hoping that, Mark Golding make the wrong move and do what everyone else wants him to do. In chess, you don't do the expected, you do the unexpected. So that's what I'm saying, because now you know the kryptonite of Andrew Holness is the Speaker of the House. So all you need to do, mate, is continue needling him about the Speaker of the House. Here's that helicopter again. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, all you need to do is just say, the Speaker of the House is, her position is untenable because she's holding a position which is got great influence and power over the way parliamentary affairs are being conducted within Parliament. That's true. By not tabling any topic of discussion or subject matter that they deem fit. So if they think, well, this is a threat to, to my party or to my husband's position, we're going to shelve it and we're going to block it and we're going to delay it and we're not going to table it. That is corruption. That is not, dealing with the affairs of Parliament in a prudent way. That's nothing to do with misogyny. And all these political pundits who are trying to say, well, it's sexist and it's misogyny, it's picking on a woman and it's so low, and you hear them in Parliament, that was a low, that's a new low. There's nothing low about, the low is that you have your wife, Mr. Prime Minister, who is sitting in Parliament, administering over the proceeds as Speaker, knowing full well that's your wife and she belongs to your party and she's politically active. So there is no confusion there. I'm sorry. Anything else that people are saying, it's nonsense. It's just pure nonsense. And that's what it is. So two things is Mark Golding should turn up to the meeting. Don't do what everyone else is shouting. They don't understand chess. Don't do that. If I was you, I wouldn't do that. If I was Mark Golding, I'm not him. He doesn't have to listen to my suggestion. He's his own man. I'm my own person. I'm not supporting him in any way. I'm just saying, given the rise of this particular situation, and this opportunity won't come again, because I'm sure Andrew Holness is not going to make this mistake a second time. I'm quite sure of that. As we speak, I'm sure there's advisors and all these other people in his ears telling him, you know, blah, 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 you've made a mistake. The only people that's probably going to be patting him on his back and putting a battery and gassing up Andrew Holness would be the lackeys, the ones who don't think very far ahead, who never see the bigger picture. Those people in the room, you know, the same type of people in the room who will pass laws that, you know, mothers must carry, baby bucket seats when they're taking taxis without thinking it through and if it's actually practical. Those are the same kind of people that's going to pat Andrew Holness on his back and say, yeah, you did the right thing walking out. Yeah, that was a new low. That was very low. Yeah, you showed him. I'm like, yeah, those are the problems. That's anyway, I wouldn't surround myself with people like that. But that's, as I say, that's neither here nor there for me. But for Mark, I think he should, he should turn up and he should sit there, and every time the opportunity arises, bring up keep putting the pressure on, on the government regarding the fact that, you have a wife that's sitting as speaker who is the Speaker of the House. From what I know, I've heard rumors that she's even muting people's mics. And I'm like, oh, you're muting people's mics because you think they're speaking out of turn. You're not tabling events or discussions that's in the public's interest. That's of great security and great concern. And on top of that, I hear that she's running businesses as well, and no one knows where all this funding is coming from. Now, this corruption is one of the worst I've ever seen in Jamaica to date. I mean, I've listened to my parents and my grandparents speak about politics and the corruption that's gone on ever since, Michael Manley and Edward Seaga, and the involvement of the CIA and all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into details, but all I can tell you guys is one word: economic hitmen. Go look up that, go do your research. So that's that situation. So having said all of that, things was bad then, and I think it's getting back to that situation where Andrew Holness and Mark Golding is sort of giving that repeat of history between Edward Seaga and Michael Manley, and where the vicious enmity between both of them were in public anyway. But so, yeah, I think he should turn up. I think he should, be present with all these members of the JLP party and continue the conduct. Do not disrupt Parliament. Just continue. Let Parliament go in session. Let Parliament do what it has to do. You have to be professional. You have to raise yourself. Let's see what type of politician you are. Raise yourself above the whatever else is going on. But at the same time, look for your opportunity to bring up the Speaker of the House, because you now know that's Andrew Holness' kryptonite. So if you know that's his kryptonite, you know Jamaican people stay already. When they tease you, if they know that there's something that you don't like, they're going to rub it in more. Especially when we realize that just for you legitimately bringing up the situation with the Speaker of the House, he got so emotional and angry, he stomped out and he walked out, which was very unprofessional and very unbecoming of the Prime Minister and the office in which he holds. Yo, I don't know what to say. I didn't expect this type of reaction from the Prime Minister, to be honest. Everybody have their own opinions of them and their perceptions of them, myself included. But I didn't expect him to. I didn't expect him to walk out like that. I expect him to do what they normally do: shout each other down, knock on the desk, here, blah blah blah. You know what they did, and you saw that same thing. I even said this in my last video. That's what they do, and even that was done. You saw this guy Warmington coming back in, cursing and acting unprofessional. And I'm like, this is a grown man. He must have families. Has he got children that is seeing the way these people display themselves in public? Don't you realize there's a camera rolling? They don't care about the camera. I keep telling people, these people don't care about you, bro. If there's a camera rolling in Parliament that's recording the proceedings, and they're carrying on the way they're carrying on, like what we saw, and they know the camera is rolling, one of two things has happened. Either they forgot the camera is rolling, or they know the camera is rolling, but they basically don't give a shit. They don't care. And my opinion is they don't care. And this is why I always say I don't trust politicians and I don't trust political parties.